Digimon Ghost Game saw a new character, a girl from Ruli's social circle, partnering up with not one but two Digimon. No, not Espimon and Ryudamon, the two recently revealed Digimon who are coming to the Vital Bracelet and apparently coming to Ghost Game. This newcomer, Kayono, teams up with an ex-Tyrannomon and Warumanzaimon and starts wreaking havoc, attacking all of the people in Kayono's life who were trying to help her. It was a really unsettling episode, seeing a teenager who has hit a very dark place just rejecting help from others over and over again, viewing their good intentions as burdens and attacks on her. We'll talk about Kayono and her two Digimon, plus I'll share my Espimon theory, how I think this character will appear in Digimon Ghost Game, and who Espimon will be partnered with. If my theory is correct, I think we've already met Espimon's human partner. A little PSA, I also released a video on Friday recapping and breaking down the Vital Bracelet B news. We now know what the Gen 3 Vital Bracelet is all about, and it's a massive upgrade from the Digivice V, so check out my other video from this week after this one to learn what's new. It'll be a pinned comment and in the description and all that jazz, but for now, this is the episode recap and review. The events of episode 30 begin with us learning that a schoolgirl who Ruli knows as a friend of a friend has been absent from school for over a month and has been staying at home in her room with the lights low and the curtains closed. She's approached by two Digimon who insist they want a human partner and that they won't let anyone pick on her. When Kayono's dad comes to check in on her, the two Digimon find a way to convince Kayono that her dad is a threat and use an attack called Black Matter to transform him into this eerie, lifeless doll. Here things begin to spiral as the two Digimon continue to convince Kayono that all of the humans in her life trying to reach out to her are threats, are against her, don't have her best interests at heart. Her teacher checks in on her, a social worker checks in on her, and they're both judged as threats to Kayono and turned to dolls. Even the pizza delivery guy who was late is deemed worthy of punishment and transformed. I could be overanalyzing this episode, but what I really thought was well done and what I really felt was happening was the idea that in this scenario, ex-Tyrannomon and Warumanzaimon were kind of stand-ins for the internal voices in your head telling you all of the worst possible things when you're trapped in a spiral of depression. They're kind of like intrusive thoughts. There were people extending a helping hand, and these ghosts, these voices were whispering in her ear, you know, don't believe them, it's a trap, they don't really care about you, all these horrible things. And to me, it was a really dark but thoughtful take on anxiety and depression and even worse forms of mental illness. I mean, the show never explicitly told us what was wrong with Kayono, why she had skipped school for over a month, but the fact a social worker showed up kind of suggested to me that the reason she essentially removed herself from society was something a bit dark. The mutual friend of Ruli and Kayono, Aoi, who we've known since episode 1 of Ghost Game, goes to visit Kayono out of genuine concern, but Kayono goes to a very confrontational, insecure place and brings up how much time Aoi has spent with Ruli, how she's more popular, and how Aoi has completely abandoned Kayono. This also felt to me like quite realistic writing. I mean, friend groups shuffle around in that awkward transition between elementary school, middle school, high school, and some pairings and some individuals get left behind and drift apart without proper explanation or closure, sometimes leaving the person who was left out to just kind of spiral, trying to figure out what they did wrong, what went wrong, and why their group broke apart. Kayono turns Aoi into a doll as well, which marks kind of a new low for Kayono, and at this point, she's finally able to leave her home, but she goes on this rampage, dollifying anybody who so much as looks at her funny, even turning Jellymon and Kiyoshiro into dolls when they accidentally bump shoulders on the sidewalk. In Act 3 of the episode, the confrontation comes with Ruli, Hito, and their Digimon confronting her and her two Digimon in the park, just as they were about to brutally rip apart some of their dolls, tearing the stuffing out of them and things of that nature. Hito decides to take the fight into the AR field, and all the Digimon, plus Hito and Ruli, are transported, leaving Kayono alone with no explanation of where everybody suddenly went, because, you know, she doesn't have a Vital Bracelet Digivice. We get this great moment where, because she can't follow us into the AR field, Kayono breaks down because she feels like she's been left behind, doubling down on those abandonment issues that we saw earlier when she accused Aoi of ditching her to spend more time with Ruli. She says that everyone's left her, but a Monzaimon appears, a third stuffed animal Digimon, and says it isn't true and tells Kayono that she's the reason she's alone. It's tough love for sure, but he does have a point. Kayono has been pushing away the people who care about her the most. Monzaimon is then able to transfer her into the AR field kind of temporarily, and though she is not visible to the others, she can hear ex-Tyrannomon and Warumanzaimon basically talking about how she's super gullible and impressionable and really outing themselves as huge jerks, just saying that they only liked her because she said yes to letting them hurt people. It's a lot of emotional damage for Kayono to take in a short amount of time. Monzaimon then enters the fight, teaming up with Kano Weissmon in the final few minutes. What's noteworthy here for watchers of the entire series, Kano Weissmon at least acknowledges there could be a limit to this ultimate evolution form, of course referencing that incident from 2 weeks ago where Kano Weissmon's evolution kind of timed out or overclocked. I suspected we would come back to this, but I'm very glad they acknowledged it here. It's not something we're going to never talk about again. Although Hito and Kano don't know the exact nature of that limit, like in Appmon, how they knew from day one their Apply Drive was only allowing for 60 seconds of ultimate power, Kano and Hiro do know something is up, and that ultimate Kano Weissmon form is not necessarily stable. It's cool, just confirming that we are getting some follow-up there, there. It's not happening this episode. We're not getting the reveal this episode. But that incident 2 weeks ago where they timed out wasn't just a one-time thing that the writers included to give a single episode some more tension. Our team does win the fight pretty unceremoniously, and Kayono and her 2 Digimon have a change of heart thanks to Manzaemon and begin reverting the humans they attacked back into their original forms. At the very end of the episode, Aoi and Ruli are walking home, and Aoi begins to ask about Angoramon. Well, she asks for information about that rabbit, obviously referring to Angoramon because she doesn't know its name, but she eventually says never mind and then gives this kind of smile like she knows something is up. Honestly, with all of the talk of the mysterious Espimon character who debuted formally last week with the reveal of the new dim cards, my personal first pick for a future 4th Digidestined is Ruli's friend Aoi. We've literally known her since episode 1. Ruli and her were actually on screen before Hiro and Kiyoshiro, and this isn't even the first time she's hinted that she knows Ruli has some strange thing going on with Digimon. And earlier in this episode, Aoi and the other friend were even playing with Gamamon. Hiro still insists that he's a hologram, but I kind of like the idea that maybe Ruli's 2 friends are playing dumb and they know that something's going on. Maybe they're just kind of waiting for Ruli to admit it to them. Other than Aoi, the only other major contestant are the boys' dorm mate Nomura or Ruli's other friend, the girl with the darker bluish hair. Let me know what you guys think about the Espimon factor. Who will be getting a 4th Digimon partner and joining the team, if anyone? And let me know your thoughts on the episode, of course. I thought this one worked quite well for me. It was on the darker side in terms of depicting a teenage girl struggling with isolation and anxiety and possibly worse forms of mental illness. Whether the writers intended it or not, I genuinely saw Kayono's 2 Digimon representing intrusive thoughts. Like Kayono was in a dark, vulnerable place, and these 2 monsters were just putting really bad ideas into her head and making her withdraw further and further from society and her loved ones. It wasn't your traditional jump scare horror, but it was a very unsettling episode, and I was impressed that Digimon tried to tackle that this week. I'm very curious about episode 31 based on the preview we saw. It's all Angoramon in that preview. Do you think we're getting Angoramon's ultimate next week? I hope so, but I'm not convinced quite yet because do remember Angoramon took the longest to evolve to champion, and the show faked us out like 3 weeks in a row with Angoramon heavy episodes that did not culminate in evolution, so who knows. That'll be all for me this week. Thank you for watching. Check out my video on the Vital Bracelet B recap if you missed that one. Not too many people clicked on it, which is too bad because I was really happy with the coverage. So if you have a chance and you want to know what's the deal with this new Gen 3 Vital Bracelet that just got revealed, check out my other video. You'll learn everything you need to know in 6 minutes or less. It'll be the pinned comment and it'll be in the description. Thanks for watching, have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video.